Hey, Isla. Hi. So as you are increasing aptitude with the individual intervals, which interval do you like to group together in practice to be more creative and melodic? What's my favorite interval? So I have a couple of favorite intervals. And that's a great question, Bob. So I'm going to give context since I know that there are a lot of newer people in this Q&A. And so for the new folks who just entered, you're gonna practice a bunch of major scales. You're gonna learn the 5 forms of the major scale. You already have, most of you, if you've opened the lessons. And then you're gonna take the major scales through patterns, and then you're gonna do intervals, and that's what Bob's talking about. So there's these practices that we do where we go through thirds. So the thirds are gonna be like, and then fourths, and then fifths, and sixths, and sevenths, and then octaves. I'm just going through all of them because why not? Octaves, and then ninths, and then tenths. So those are all the intervals that we're going to study, the thirds through the tenths. So so you're asking what's my favorite interval. So I love sixths. Sixths are ones that I use a lot. And so six, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So six are inverted thirds. So if I take this interval and I take my C here and I make it, I bring it up an octave, then I come up with a third, right? And thirds are so good for harmonizing. So that's my third. But then if I play around in a scale with six, I get kind of a similar feeling, but like a little. It's like still very harmonious because, thirds are like, they're the interval that when you hear them, you're just like, like you just melt into like pleasantness. And that's what thirds do. And then six are the inversion. So it has that effect, but like there's something a little more spacious about it. And it's spacious because it's a bigger interval. And then also, I really love using six in my chords. So if I have like a C major 7, I'll just make it a C major 6. And that just like also offers kind of a more spacious feeling than just a regular C major 7 or even like a, let's say, bar chord or something. Even adding a 6 to this bar chord, there's, it's nice. So I love 6. Just to give you like a random association, because sometimes it helps when you're learning intervals to associate them with things you already know. So like that typical kind of country lick, I think it's in like a couple of Bob Dylan songs, and it's like very, very like typical, this like 6. So if I'm in the key of G, all I'm doing is I'm going down the scale using my 6. And then I'm kind of, you can play it, you can like slide up to it. Right? So I love this little lick. I'll definitely still use it just because it's cute. And it's been used for, decades in like many different styles of music, from like country to jazz to rock to anything else. So, so that's sometimes a lick that I'll associate with 6. If I'm trying to figure out like, well, what is the sound of 6, or I'm still not sure how to identify a 6th, learning like a little lick like that can help. So 6, I also love 7ths. Brown Eyed Girl. So Brown Eyed Girl is for thirds. So so that's thirds. So that's an easy way to remember thirds. Fifths, you have your power chords. That's a fifth. So fifths are kind of nice to remember. And then I was gonna go into talking about 7ths. I love 7ths, especially as like when I'm doing like jazz standards or something like that. I'll often like kind of land on a seventh and or harmonize a note in a seventh. So, you know, like if I'm doing sort of like a, you know, there's my seventh, and I love those. So yeah, sevenths, tenths are definitely awesome. Yeah, tenths are great. Tenths are also thirds. So that's another reason why they're just like pleasant and just kind of perfect sounding. So tenths are, you know, really great for songwriting. You know, you could just create like any progression in the major scale and put tenths on it, and it's a, you know, song. You know, just playing like the major scale, but it sounds nice since you add some rhythm to it, and it's a song. So tenths are great. Tenths are also great. I'll get to your question, Bob, but I'm just having fun talking about stuff. Tenths are also great when you play in a key where you can add an open string. So I was just playing in the key of G, and I have an open D string, so I can just like have that as like a pedal throughout my progressions. So on like all of the chords that work in the key of G major, this open D string, it's gonna work. Like it might sound like, well, it's gonna be a different interval to each. Yeah, it's kind of like a drone, but drones are usually bass notes. So in this case, we're switching the bass note too. It's actually called more like a sustained note. So it's like sustained throughout the entire progression. And then you're noticing that I can also like hit my high B string because that also exists in the key of G. So like as an example, just kind of getting into it here. So as an example, on my A minor, my B string is a ninth. So I love this chord. I use this chord all the time. And in fact, I'll use like an A minor 7 and I'll add in my B string, and I just love that sound. So, you know, stuff, you know, chords that are based around tenths, but then using your open strings can sound really nice. And then just to give you some context, like what if I do the same thing in the key of B flat, but I continue using my open string D, then I have like other sounds that are available to me. Right, so you can find keys that that are congruent with one of your open string notes and play around with that.